Welcome to this explainer. Today, we're diving into a genuinely fascinating, science-backed mystery. We're going to explore how a completely bizarre sea creature might literally hold the ultimate key to protecting our brains from aging. We've been looking at some recent scientific literature buzzing in the biohacking communities, and the big question is, what if the secret to keeping a youthful, razor-sharp mind isn't locked away in some high-tech lab, but is actually just clinging to a rock at the bottom of the ocean?
We're actually skipping our usual setup today because we want to plunge straight into this massive question. And yeah, I know it sounds a bit like pure science fiction, but it's firmly rooted in some brand new scientific research. Could an unusual and surprisingly cheap seafood really reverse brain aging? Look, when we hear claims about literally reversing the clock, it is so easy to be skeptical, right? But today, we're going to look strictly at the biology. We're breaking down the exact compounds involved to see exactly why researchers are taking this incredibly seriously.
Section 1. The problem. The natural aging brain.
Okay, so before we can understand the cure, we absolutely have to understand the condition. Our brains are these incredibly complex engines, but just like any engine that's been running nonstop for decades, wear and tear is kind of inevitable. The natural process of brain aging brings this whole cascade of physical changes, quietly breaking down our neural pathways day by day. Think of your neural pathways like a bustling highway system. Over the years, the roads develop potholes, the bridges get a bit weak, and the traffic, which in this case is your thoughts and memories, well, it just slows down. We experience this as a gradual neural degradation over time, a really noticeable loss of memory and daily focus, and fundamentally slower cognitive processing speeds. It's just a biological reality that every single one of us has to confront.
And really, this hits on the true pain points. Because we're not just talking about forgetting a name at a dinner party. It's about the terrifying prospect of losing our cognitive sharpness and our functional independence. Age-related cognitive impairment takes a severe toll on both the individual and their family. It strikes right at the core of our quality of life, threatening our ability to live independently, manage our daily routines, and just stay connected with the world around us. That is exactly what makes finding a solution so absolutely crucial.
But what if there was a literal immortality buff waiting for us out in the ocean? That's actually what one health discussion participant jokingly called it. If you're a gamer, you know a buff is a temporary or permanent boost to your character's stats. When people recently learned about the dietary potential of certain sea life, they honestly couldn't help but marvel and have a pretty good laugh that this seemingly magical health boost was just sitting out there under the water waiting to be consumed. Which brings us to Section 2, the solution. Sea squirts and plasmalogens.
Into the sea squirt. This is a vibrant, totally bizarre marine organism that has scientists and nutrition enthusiasts incredibly excited about the future of cognitive health. Now, if you haven't seen one, sea squirts look kind of like these rubbery, colorful tubes attached to underwater rocks. They definitely do not look like a medical miracle. But beneath that strange exterior is some complex biochemistry. These unusual creatures are absolutely packed with age-fighting compounds called plasmalogens. So what are those? Well, plasmalogens are a unique type of lipid, or fat, that are essential building blocks for our cell membranes. They're naturally found in really high concentrations in the human brain and heart. But the catch is, as we get older, our natural levels of plasmalogens drop drastically, which leaves our brain cells super vulnerable. Studies have actually scientifically shown that replenishing these lipids can actively mitigate age-related cognitive impairment.
So the absolutely crucial point here is that direct scientific literature points to these exact marine compounds as a way to physically prevent and mitigate brain aging. By eating foods that are incredibly rich in plasmalogens like our friend the sea squirt, we are essentially delivering a massive payload of protective armor directly to our brain cells. It helps rebuild those cellular walls, it improves the speed of neural communication, and it acts as a literal shield against the oxidative stress that slowly breaks down our minds over time.
And honestly, the most surprising part of all of this isn't some rare billion-dollar pharmaceutical. In places like Busan, Korea, sea squirts are an incredibly common, everyday food source. Someone in a recent nutraceutical forum pointed this exact thing out. They are widely consumed in South Korean coastal cities, often served up fresh at seafood markets for just pennies on the dollar. It is so fascinating to think that a local, cheap delicacy might quietly be doing absolute wonders for the cognitive longevity of the people who eat it regularly.
Section 3. The suggestion. Upgrading to alkyl-glycerol.
So biohackers and researchers are already analyzing ways to optimize this oceanic discovery for maximum human benefit. Because, let's be real, while eating a bowl of sea squirts might be awesome if you live right next to a Korean fish market, the global scientific community is looking for the most efficient, targeted way to get these exact benefits to everyone else. And while plasmalogens are incredible on their own, studies suggest that seeking out a specific precursor compound called alkyl-glycerol might actually be the true golden ticket here. Think of your body like a factory, okay? You can either import the finished product, which is the plasmalogen, or you can import the raw materials to just make it yourself. Alkyl-glycerol is that raw material. It's a biological precursor that your body easily absorbs and eagerly uses to manufacture its very own fresh supply of brain-protecting lipids.
When we look at the data, science indicates that consuming the precursor, the alkyl-glycerol, is actually a much more effective strategy for helping your body generate these brain-protecting shields. See, while consuming direct plasmalogens provides the brain health lipids straight away, our digestive tracts can sometimes break down those direct lipids before they even fully reach the brain. Alkyl-glycerol, on the other hand, it survives the digestive process beautifully, enters our system, and just fires up our own internal plasmalogen factories. It creates a far more sustainable and effective defense against cognitive decline.
Which naturally leads to a very practical and honestly slightly humorous question asked by health-conscious folks trying to figure out how to easily fit this into a normal diet. They're asking, how do we get some tasty alkyl-glycerol? Because let's face it, tracking down fresh sea squirts at your local landlocked supermarket is not going to be easy. And the taste is famously, well, let's call it an acquired taste. The good news, though, is that the nutraceutical industry is paying very close attention to this research. They're pointing toward future supplements that can deliver these exact precursors without requiring you to take a trip to the bottom of the ocean.
So to summarize our deep dive for today, fighting cognitive decline really requires three things: acknowledging the problem, identifying the bizarre marine compounds that fight it, and strategically seeking out the most effective precursors. First, we got to recognize that brain aging is a mechanical degradation of our cells that genuinely threatens our independence. Second, we must understand the preventative power of marine plasmalogens, that cellular armor found in abundance in the humble sea squirt. And third, for those looking to really optimize, we look to science, which tells us to seek out optimal sources of the precursor, alkyl-glycerol, to empower our bodies to literally heal themselves.
I want to leave you with this final thought to ponder about your own diet and the vast, untapped pharmacy of the deep sea. If the secret to reversing brain aging is sitting in a cheap sea squirt, what other medical miracles are hiding in our oceans, just waiting to be discovered, or simply waiting to be eaten? It completely changes the way we look at marine biology and nutrition, doesn't it? Thank you so much for joining me for this explainer. Stay curious, and I'll catch you on the next one.